Hello there, I'm Kaz. Let's talk about EA's press conference at E3 2014. Once again, I apologize for the audio quality. I'm directly recording this right after seeing the press conference for EA. The short version... Ugh. This was a complete and utter bore. For any of you who had to watch this press conference along with me, I sincerely sympathize with you for all the time you wasted watching this complete waste. They open up strong with Star Wars Battlefront 3. Or rather Star Wars Battlefront because... reboot? They showed off some old content that were put in the vault for Star Wars, and that they went to the locations for the original trilogy of Star Wars, showing off some prototype footage, which isn't really fair to judge because it's in prototype. It's not going to be indicative of the final product. What they did show a lot of was Dragon Age Inquisition. They started off with the same trailer, with a great musical performance on, I believe, the violin? And the gameplay looks pretty fun. They also had a trailer where they showed off the characters, but they don't seem like they're going to be the most interesting cast there is. The typical strong guy with a bad past, the shifty mage, and so on and so forth. Also during that time, they decided to say all the feels. You're a professional. Act like it. This is supposed to be something akin to a press meeting. Yes, we're all about the games. But that display is not going to impress your shareholders, EA. Get it right. They also announced BioWare's new games, which is a new Mass Effect and a new IP. But no gameplay was shown for either, so let's move on. Sims 4 was shown, and it didn't really look like they were doing anything different gameplay-wise, aside from the fact that you can take Sims from other people's games and put them in your game. It's a novel concept, but I don't think it's actually going to add that much to the gameplay. And that could pretty much sum up EA's conference in a nutshell. Small little improvements that are going to add nothing to the game. For example, in UFC, there's the ability to play as Bruce Lee. What did they actually show in additions to that? Nothing really, and frankly, I'm not that interested in UFC. Oh, and for the record, it's UFC, no subtitle. The same can be said about the new NHL. There's better graphics, which is to be expected with next-gen consoles, instead of actually focused on improving the gameplay. And again, the same can be said about Criterion Games' new title, Madden 15, and PGA. Then EA did something incredibly stupid. Surprised, aren't we? EA talked about how they didn't want to clone anybody on mobile device. The new Dungeon Keeper says hi. Anyway, they showed off Dawngate, a new MOBA. I'm not really interested in MOBAs to begin with. Moving on, Mirror's Edge 2, where they showed off development in a very pretentious manner and only showed off prototype gameplay. Again, it's hard to judge prototype gameplay, but they showed off gameplay last year at E3, so I guess we'll have to see more to actually see whether or not that was indicative of the final product. Next, they showed off that a new FIFA game does in fact exist. Moving on. Actually, let's not move on. I'm going to read a line from that overly dramatic nonsense in its trailer. Football is the greatest drama on Earth. It's football, EA! Then they showed off Battlefield Hardline, because now they're going to make Battlefield a yearly series, like Call of Duty. They had a demo for a multiplayer mode, which looks like it's going to be taking a page out of Cops and Robbers of all things, but it actually looks pretty decent. It is silly that they didn't have an animation for entering the car, and the demo looked utterly scripted, but overall, it looks like a nice new take on a multiplayer mode we haven't seen before. Also, hitting people with a bat. When was the last game we ever got to do that in a first-person shooter? There's also a beta launching for Hardlines on PS4 and PC, so if you're interested in checking it out, then go right ahead. And that's pretty much all we got. Announcements that we already knew were going to happen or had been announced already. The new Mass Effect, the new BioWare IP, Battlefront, Mirror's Edge 2, and so on and so forth. This press conference was a complete bore. And yet, for some reason, the crowd was ecstatic. I sincerely hope that nobody at the press was actually applauding this complete waste of time. So, EA's press conference. I know I shouldn't have expected much from EA, but man oh man, did they drop the ball on this hard. That's all for now. Until next time, game on, my friends.